What is going on, guys? It's your boy Void here, and today we are talking about should you become a CS major. So a lot of the videos on my channel are really kind of geared more towards people who are already in the major, who are already in the industry and things of that nature. But today I kind of wanted to make sure that we kind of help everybody out, not just the people who are already in the major, but I also want to help clarify anything that might be confusing to you about being a CS major, what that entails, and how that could impact your future. I'm gonna go over my personal experience, why I personally chose to be a CS major, and some of the pros and cons that I think go along with being a CS or computer science major. I am gonna go ahead and start off with some of the pros. As you might know, if you're doing a little bit of research into this, you know that computer science offers a lot of job security. Now, that's a pretty big thing. A lot of college degrees cannot say the same thing. On top of job security, though, it's not just secure. It's like very well paying. And if you're looking into it, you might already know that. So the school I'm going to, UT Austin, actually has an average of $75,000 pay post-graduation, and the pay can be like, that's a big thing. Whether people say like it's not all about the money, well, a big portion of your decision might be about the money, especially depending on your financial situation, whether you have to help out family, whether you have debt, all of that stuff. It's important to be realistic about this and not just say, well, it's not about the money. Another thing that's pretty cool is you get to work on some of the newest and coolest things and companies. You get the first-hand like experience on it. You get to work on these cool new things a lot of the times. And it's just really awesome being able to be that close, be that involved with like it's really cool. Like you're in the forefront of tech. Going off of that, if you don't like tech, that's also okay, because frankly, the world is becoming more technology driven. So every industry is starting to need more software engineers, someone to build a website, someone to like maintain their server, someone to plan their products. If you major in computer science, you're able to go into multiple industries. If I wanted to go work for Walmart as a software engineer, I could do that. If I wanted to go work for Disney, I could do that. But if I wanted tech, Google, I'm gonna do that. So, or even if I wanted to go work at the Houston Texans football team, I could do that as a data scientist. There's so many different like industries you can go into, and that's one of my favorite things about like this major, this career path, is that you're able to go into almost any industry that you choose to, on top of the high pay and really great benefits. The last thing that I'm going to mention for the pros is that the work is challenging and interesting. So that could be a bad thing, but it could also be a good thing. It depends on you. Personally, if I had work that was very repetitive, if it was very like, if it didn't take a lot of thought to do it, I would probably get kind of bored. I like to have a challenge all the time, so personally that's a good thing for me, but having challenging work can also be a bad thing, which leads me into the cons. If you're the type of person who gets kind of frustrated and like gets overwhelmed by things, it might be a little difficult, because a lot of times with this field, you have to be pretty persistent, especially when you're learning something new. And the thing is, in this field, you're going to be learning new things just because technology changes all the time. New languages come out, new libraries. You might migrate your servers, you might change teams, your teams might be reorged. There's so many things that could happen, and you have to change with it, which requires some new learning. So if you don't like learning new things and you really don't like getting over learning curves, this could be kind of frustrating for you, and that would be a con for me. Another thing I'm going to say is the learning curve initially in the major. So for me, intro to programming, data structures, those classes, they're very important. And a lot of people say that they are the easier classes of college, but that wasn't the case for me at all. They were hard. I did not come in with 10 years of programming experience out of the womb, or side projects galore, or technology high school for the achieving excellence, prodigies, Xavier's School of the Gifted. I didn't do that. And frankly, it's frustrating whenever you're in intro to programming and everyone's saying it should be an easy class, and like people aren't putting in that much work, and you're putting in like 10 times the work, but you're getting less grades. That is very, very heart-wrenching sometimes, but you have to understand that the other people put in the time before you were even able to explore computer science. So that can be very frustrating, but it does get better. That's the initial learning curve. The initial learning curve is very steep. It's very difficult. But if you are persistent, it's definitely a con that you can get through if you didn't have experience before. The last thing I wanted to mention as a con is there's a lot of time that goes into it. When you're learning new things and the classes are structured in a way that you're not so exam heavy, but you're more focused on projects, and you have to work with groups on these projects. That might seem like a good thing, but not for everybody, because these projects are very time consuming. I mean, there are countless times where I stayed up all night, or like I woke up really early just to start grinding again, or I had to meet with my groups at weird hours because everyone was busy. So we met at like 9 p.m. to like midnight, or 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. Like, it's very time consuming. It does vary a lot based off your like how well you manage your time, how much experience you had coming in, and as well as the group members that you get. So this could be a big con for people, because a lot of people like to say college is the best time of your life. It's difficult to get that full like fun experience whenever you have projects so often, and especially if you're struggling in the field or like struggling to learn these things. It can be really hard. It can be very taxing on your social life when you're first learning. So that's part of that initial learning curve I'm talking about. I don't think it's a hindrance all throughout college, though I will say that there are a lot of majors where things are easier, or at least things don't take as long, so you have more time to go to parties, you have more time to go hang out with friends. That part kind of sucks. But again, I am biased, and I think all of these cons can be overcome, but it might not be for everybody. It might not be worth it for everybody. If you don't like it and you go into it just because you hear about these like huge paychecks, you're not going to be happy. Like, the fact that these projects are so time consuming and you have to like dedicate a lot of time and energy into it, but then if you don't like it, you're not going to be happy. At least that's what I personally think. Some people will say that the money is worth the time, even if you don't like it. Some people will believe that you don't like things until you're good at it, and with enough time, you will get good at it. And maybe that's true, but I don't think that's my philosophy. I do think you might enjoy it more once you get better at it, but if you really don't like it, I don't think it'll grow on you that much. That being said, if you don't like it because you don't like building websites, that's a different story, because not every person doing CS builds websites. Or if you don't like it because you don't like coding backend, that's fine too, because then you can code websites, or you can code mobile apps, or there's a big breadth of things. So there is still a lot to like, even if you don't like one specific area. A bigger question that I hear a lot is, what if I just don't know? Like, what if I don't know? I don't have anyone to show me CS. I didn't take CS courses, or I took CS courses and they were crap. Well, in this case, it's a little tough to know. I would recommend just looking up like You know what? I'm going to put some links down below. Try watching those videos, see if you find it interesting at all. If you don't know, that's perfectly fine. I personally think that if I didn't know if I liked it, but I knew like the numbers, the pay, I would try it out. Especially if you get into a competitive CS program, then I would try it out. And then if I end up not liking it, it's easy to switch, and the skills are very marketable as well as useful if you ever want to become like an entrepreneur. Because when it comes down to it, if you end up switching majors, that's fine. Like, you gave it a try, you didn't like it, that's perfectly fine. But I do think CS is a good starting point because you get marketable skills. And if you ever want, like, let's say I switch from CS to business and I start a business one day, well, I'm gonna need a website, I'm gonna need a logo, I'm gonna need a whole lot of stuff. I might need to host something on AWS. So there's a lot of stuff that I think is transferable. So I do think it is worth going into blind if you are interested at all. I would do a little bit of research, try to figure out like what does computer science actually do. It's a lot of long coding projects, if I'm being honest, though there are many career paths you can take. Some of those, and not including all of them, you can be a software engineer, which is your typical like person that is writing code a lot of times. You can be a program manager, which is a lot of planning and strategy and stuff like that, a lot of meetings and talking to people. You can be a IT person, which is a lot of support. There's a huge breadth of things you can do, so make sure you're looking into each of them. And if any of them are interested you, then I definitely think you should explore computer science in some extent. Now, that being said, I am a little bit biased as a person who is a computer science major and is going to be a software engineer. So maybe take it with a grain of salt. But now I want to tell you guys a little bit about why I chose to be a computer science major in the first place. We're getting a little personal here. So I did not grow up in like a rich area whatsoever. My household income was like, it was low. It was real low. Like, it was below like, I think $35,000 a year. And that was pretty tough, especially whenever I started meeting people here in college that their household incomes were $100,000 a year, $200,000 a year. And they thought that wasn't a lot because like they had a lot of siblings or something. But to me, it was still so different. Like, even if they had a lot of siblings, it was just so different. They didn't have to do the constant moving. They had the large houses, great schools, and I didn't have any of that. I wanted to get to that position one day. I have 2 little sisters. I wanted to be able to help them out if I ever had to. And frankly, we were living in a dangerous neighborhood. Like, there were a lot of muggings. There were a lot of people getting robbed. I mean, I was on the news before, people breaking into our house. I had all sorts of like weapons pointed at me, from guns and knives to brass knuckles, and I didn't want that anymore. I didn't want that for me. I didn't want that for my family. I didn't want that for my little sisters. And I knew that this was a good path to quickly gain money without any grad school. So I knew that pursuing this path would enable me to make the best possible future for them in the future. So that was a little deep for me, but yeah, that's kind of the reason why I went into this blindly. Like, I wanted the money, and I wanted the best for my family and me. So personally, it was very much about the finances, even though that might seem a little like shallow, that I wanted to go into the field because of the money. And initially I was going to do IT actually, but I ended up doing an IT internship. The company was great, but I just did not like the work. I didn't like anything about it. But once I kind of switched to more software engineering roles, I enjoyed it a lot more. The challenges were hard and sometimes frustrating, but in the end, they kept me active and kept me thinking. And that's something I like and appreciate. I also really like working on cool tech products and I really enjoy like video games and stuff, so it was a really good fit. Just because I'm creating something cool. If y'all have any questions about like why or why not, or pros and cons, or any other specific questions about why I chose the major, please let me know in the comments below. And I would appreciate it if you guys would leave a like and subscribe, though it's not required. I'm giving out some free help here, but I would appreciate a like and subscribe. And until next time, see ya.